You found the Creepster. Don't forget to close the blinds. Samantha told me about it on our third date. We were watching a movie on her couch when I made my move to kiss her. She whipped her hand in front of my face and blocked me. On knob.
There's something you need to know,
she said. I braced myself. Here it comes. I'm not ready for a relationship. Nothing to do with you, of course. It was the absolute last thing that I wanted to hear, because I was already crazy about her. Okay, I said.
I have a removable face.
That's a new one. You have a what now? I was about to laugh, but she was wearing a deadly serious expression.
I have a removable face.
Is that like a metaphor or something?
No, my face is literally removable. Look, closely.
She lifted her chin and traced her jawline with a finger.
You can see the seam.
After admiring how beautiful her neck was, for a dizzying moment, I leaned in for an inspection. It was very hard to see, but it did look like there was a slightly unnatural transition there, from her face to her throat. I grew dizzier, as a dozen questions rushed into my brain.
Don't bother asking why or how or anything like that,
said Samantha.
I can't tell you that. If that's going to be a problem, you should leave now. I'm letting you know this because I like you, and I want to take the next step, but this is non-negotiable.
Okay, I said, unsure of what was happening. Not a problem. So what? You have a removable face. Who cares? It looks good.
There's something else. Once a day, usually in the evening, I have to remove the face and disinfect the inside of it. If I don't, it will rot. This takes about an hour, give or take, depending on how my day went. During this time, you must never ever look at my real face. Never. Do you understand?
Yes. Got it. Don't ask about it. Don't look at your real face. Samantha stood up.
Now I'm going to go into the bathroom and clean my face. That will give you plenty of time to think about what I've told you. If you're here when I'm done, that's great. I would like that. But if you're gone, I'll understand. So I'm plein a blank with you decisioned. I'm also still raturing with you and finding reclaims. With honor rights of analogy and Seljing and some leader students. And you can check most Astal downing approprious before. But no.
She turned and walked into her bedroom. I sat in stunned silence as I heard the bathroom door close. I gave the thing some serious thought. It was possible that it was a joke of some kind. It was possible that it was a delusion. Was it possible that it was true? Well, it was certainly possible to transform an actor's face with movie makeup. So I supposed it was possible that Samantha wore a removable face every day. Maybe she had had a horrible accident where her flesh had been mangled. Maybe her face had been melted by acid, or burned by fire, or the skin shorn off by heavy machinery. If it had, I would never know, because she would never tell me, and I would never see it. I pictured a face of raw, naked muscle, rotting away. Could I kiss her? If that was what I was kissing. But wasn't that what we all were, under the skin? Just muscle and bone and blood and squishy organs. I paced around the living room, running my hand through my hair. I liked Samantha a lot. She was smart and funny and beautiful. But was that beauty real? Did it count? Did it matter if it was real or not? Was I being superficial even worrying about it? When she came out of the bathroom, I was still there, looked at her face. She smiled and I was in love. But every night was the same. Samantha would close herself in the bathroom, sometimes for an hour, sometimes for 2, and clean the inside of her face. The curiosity never left me. I would sit there and wonder what was under that face. I came so close to barging in on her a few times, but I never did. I did occasionally ask her about it. About what, if anything, had happened. About how it was possible to make the removable face look so real. About what it really looked like underneath. I tried to coax her into showing me, assuring her that I loved her no matter what, and didn't give a damn what her real face looked like. I was just curious, that's all. She never showed me, or told me the story behind it. She didn't get upset at me, unless I was really badgering her. She'd just shrug and said,
You know you can't see it. You know I can't tell you about it.
I never told anybody about Samantha's removable face. It's not that she asked me not to. I just didn't think it was anybody's business. Except once, I did tell somebody. It was during my bachelor's party. We had rented several cabins in Big Sur and spent the night drinking and packing our noses with powders that we shouldn't have been packing our noses with. Everyone else had passed out, and the sun was creeping up behind us as I stood on the majestic cliffs with my friend Chris, looking down on the Pacific waves crashing against the rocks. Chris was my best friend, as close to a brother as I'd known. We'd grown up together and visited each other at college often, and spent the summers together. After college, we'd moved to different cities, but we stayed in close contact. Standing there on the cliffs, I told Chris about Samantha's removable face. At first, he thought I was joking. Then he had 1,000 questions, most of which I couldn't answer.
What's underneath?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Doesn't that drive you crazy, not knowing?
I shrugged. Lots of stuff I don't know. Don't know how to do calculus, and I don't know what happens when we die.
But dude, she's about to be your wife, and you don't even know what she looks like. I mean, I'd have to take a look. Like, you could set a camera up in the bathroom. That's where she does it, right? Set up a camera and have a look, and then you'll know.
I sighed. Yeah. It drives me crazy. I've asked her 1,000,000 times, but she told me I could never look. Gotta respect that, man, even if I don't like it. That's love. Chris laughed.
You telling me to respect a woman? Up is down now.
Then we fell back into talking about old times as a new day dawned. Chris was in town for business last week and planned on spending the weekend at our house. The conversation at Big Sur had happened 4 years ago, and we hadn't spoken about Samantha's removable face since. Despite keeping in close contact and seeing each other as often as two people transforming into adults in different parts of the country can. It happened on Saturday evening. We were lounging lazily in the backyard, deep into the beer, having just finished with some grilled steaks, when I got a text from work. God damn it, I groaned. I have to make a work call,
Seriously?
said Samantha, raising an artificial eyebrow.
On a Saturday night?
My biggest client, baby. Sorry,
It is what it is, I guess.
said my wife.
I'm going to head inside and get cleaned up. Chris, are you okay just hanging out for a bit?
Chris smiled.
I'll be fine. Got my beer, got some weeds to pull in your garden. God knows your lazy-ass husband isn't going to do it. Those tomatoes are choking to death. It's a tragedy.
I rolled my eyes and went into the side yard to make my call. 15 minutes into it, I heard the screams coming from inside. Both my best friend and my wife were wailing in terror. I dropped the phone and ran into the house and down the hall to our bedroom. Through the open door, I could see that the door to the master bathroom was also standing open.
Don't come in!
Screamed Samantha.
I don't have my face on. Call an ambulance. He looked. Oh God, he looked.
Laptith. She sounded desperate and truly horrified. That made me desperate and horrified, and I wanted to rush into the bathroom, but I knew suddenly that that would be a mistake. I knew suddenly that Samantha didn't want me to look at her real face, not out of a sense of vanity, but for my own safety. Chris staggered backwards out of the bathroom. He was holding a straightened-out paperclip, which he had used to pick the privacy lock. Now he was stabbing it again and again into his eyes, shouting gibberish. He was clearly in the depths of madness, and it turned my stomach to see him mutilate himself.
Call a fucking ambulance.
My wife screamed.
Don't come in here. He fucking looked.
I turned and ran back to the side yard, where my phone was lying in the newly mowed grass. My client was still on the line, alarmed, asking what was happening, what all the screaming was. I hung up on him and called 911. When the paramedics arrived, Chris was having a seizure in the hallway. Samantha was stroking his head, sobbing. Her face was on, but it had been done hastily, and everything looked a little off. My world has been dark this past week. My best friend is in a psychiatric hospital under suicide watch. He's completely blind and mostly catatonic, except when he slips into a violent, babbling mania. The doctors are optimistic that his state is temporary, but they don't know the truth about what caused it, because I told the paramedics that Chris had taken a large dose of psychedelic mushrooms and fallen into psychosis. I saw no good reason to tell the truth about what had happened. Who would believe that one look at my wife's real face would make somebody insane? At best, we would be the subjects of a long investigation. At worst, we would have to prove that what we were saying was true by showing somebody Samantha's face. Then the same thing would happen again. And what after that? I had no idea and no interest in finding out. For Samantha's part, I knew that she would never consent to show anybody her real face, no matter what the consequences of refusal were. I did get a follow-up call from the police, asking me to confirm my story. The hospital found no traces of psilocybin in Chris's blood, though that's not unheard of, since it has a short half-life. If they end up testing his hair, I will likely be in a lot of trouble, but that's truly the least of my concerns. Samantha is in a state of her own. She still cleans the inside of her face, though not as regularly, and when she puts it back on, it's always crooked now. It is beginning to smell a little bit. I've tried to assure her that it wasn't her fault. He knew, I said. I told him that nobody was ever allowed to look at it. He knew, and then he broke into the bathroom. This is not on you, baby. Please, talk to me.
Not on me? That one look at my fucking face makes people insane? Please, I just need some time alone.
As for me, I am doing my best to hold it together. Do you know what's strange though? Despite what happened to Chris, I still find myself curious about what my wife's real face looks like. More curious than ever. It started out as a groundbreaking scientific discovery. From now on, people would be able to decide their children's gender. In the beginning, it was still a luxury service, so only the rich and powerful could afford it. It was mostly used by families who had been trying for a specific gender for a while and had been unlucky. And now they finally could make it happen and have a child with the preferred gender of the parents. There was, of course, the occasional family who used the technology to create their ideal families from the get-go. But it was pretty rare since it was still seen as unnatural by many people and was therefore stigmatized. The doctors applying this technology noted that there seemed to be a slight preference for boys. However, with the small number of people using it, as well as a not very diverse pool of applicants, it was written off as merely a coincidence. As the technology got cheaper and spread out over the years, the use became more common. About 1 in 5 families in the West was using the technology to alter at least one of their children's genders as they wished, although most families able to use it were still in the middle to upper class. People started noticing that there was an obvious preference for males, and so the people started applying pressure on lawmakers to regulate the use of this technology. At first, the pharmaceutical companies lobbied against it, since they made a lot of money off of the technology. They argued that everyone should be using it, and that making everyone actively choose their preferred gender for their children would lead to a balance of the genders. People naturally wanted both genders. Gatekeeping it only for people who could afford it skewed the gender preference, because a lot of people that would balance it out are not included. Influenced by the lobbying, the government started to roll out the technology and make it even more accessible. As the trend caught on, and more people started using it to determine their children's gender, it became more apparent that future generations would have a higher number of males than females, compared to all previous history. A couple of years further into the future, the effects of this technology were directly affecting society. With a male-to-female ratio of 70-30, the world had become a dangerous place for women. Sexual violence was on the rise, which in turn led to more people choosing to have males out of fear for the safety of their children. In an attempt to mitigate the damage while still pandering to the pharmaceutical companies, the government started trying to implement restrictions, like, for example, only allowing the altering of the gender of the second child, making the first child's gender a coincidence, as it was for all previous human history. However, this was too little, too late. The technology had been available in the black market. The rich continued altering their children's gender into males, in hopes that the new laws would slowly balance the gender ratio again. This in turn led to a panic, since many people who couldn't afford the black market prices feared for their daughters, and so opted to alter the gender of their unborn baby with a cheaper, cracked version of this technology. The cracked technology had side effects of its own, such as physical or mental deformities. However, many people still preferred it to a dangerous life for their daughters in the future. Further into the future, the state of the world has gotten a lot worse. Based on the skewed gender ratio, newer generations became smaller and smaller until natural procreation was a rarity. Since females were few, they started to be treated like a rarity at first. Hundreds, then thousands of men would pursue a single woman, as having a daughter was now considered very dangerous. Only the rich were having female offspring, since they could afford protection for them from sexual assault and rape. But even the rich families choosing to have daughters saw them more as a status symbol rather than a desired offspring. The last generation of natural women, as they were now referred to, almost vanished because of the mass rapes and assaults born out of sexual frustration in males, leading the few people still managing to have children to opt to use the technology, or the cracked technology, to ensure their future offspring's safety. An increase in males with mental deformities caused by the use of the cracked technology also led to an increase in violence and mob mentality. Although victims of their circumstance, these people lacked rational and were more animalistic in nature compared to natural-born humans. The government tried to intervene by promising to protect the remaining women and their partners and children. However, the violence and abuse against women was so commonplace that the few still having children did not trust the government's protection and opted to have males. When the government finally decided to ban the technology's use permanently, they realized that the black market and crack technologies made a ban impossible. As a last resort, the government resorted to forcing any remaining couple that wished to have children to have females, which in turn resulted in further decline of people wanting to have children. With humanity now on the brink of extinction, the remaining governments decided that the only option left was forced pregnancy and forced female birth. They decided humanity's future was too important and therefore justified their vile actions. To overcome the problem of women refusing to be forcefully impregnated, they came up with the solution to use the flaw of the cracked version of the technology to create women who were mentally altered so that they would be more submissive and absent-minded, therefore more willing to be forcefully impregnated and accept their purpose as such. Now we can live in our utopia, populated by submissive women, served by a mentally altered population, and ruled by males.
Every night, something walks down our street, whistling softly. You only hear it from the living room or kitchen, and it always starts at 3:03 a.m. The sound begins faint near the Carson place. Then it passes our house. When we were kids, my sister and I would sneak into the kitchen to listen, but we followed the big rule: don't look at whatever is whistling. My neighborhood is nice, quiet, good weather, good luck. Too much good luck, maybe. My sister Nola was born sick, couldn't breathe on her own. We moved here to be close to the hospital. Imagine one of those suburbs you see in the movies. All the houses look the same and nothing ever changes. As soon as we moved in, my sister got better. The doctors were confused, but we weren't after learning what we know now. We knew it was part of the blessing. There's only one cost to living here. Never look at the Whistler. There's a committee that meets at night. It's like if an HOA had a kid with a cult. They wear weird robes and leave offerings at their doorsteps once a week. When you move in, they bring food, a gift basket, and a manila folder. Inside are newspaper clippings, stories, people who looked for the Whistler, suffered. Accidents, illness, some lived, but none of them had light in their eyes anymore. My dad believed them. He locked every window with canvas shutters, small diary logs. Over time, we stopped talking about it, until Holden moved in next door. He stayed with us one night when his parents were out of town.
Have you ever even tried to look?
He asked. We don't talk about that, I told him.
Come on, he said. It's almost time.
Your dad keeps the key on his nightstand. I borrowed it.
You're lying. Go look, he said.
I went to my parents' room. The moment I stepped inside, they could hear it every night. I ran. Noah! I shouted. Holden had unlocked the blinds. Nola stood nearby, frozen. The whistling was outside the window now, so I grabbed Nola and turned her away. Don't look! Keep your eyes shut! I reached out and touched Holden. He was ice cold. I pulled the blinds shut. Holden? He turned to me, pale, trembling, bleeding lip, and he'd wet himself. My dad ran in.
Just Holden?
I nodded. My dad looked relieved. Then we all froze.
Pertnat.
Don't answer it.
My mom whispered.
Police? Police.
It was copying her voice. The pounding suddenly stopped. It seemed like hours were passing. Holden sobbed.
I won't tell. Please, go away.
The tapping didn't stop. Finally, at 7 a.m., it stopped. My dad checked.
It's done. Holden's family moved out by the end of the week.
They all looked tired, colorless. I think his parents must have looked too, to comfort him. I still wonder if Nola had looked. Would I have looked too? We still live here. We still hear the whistler, but now my dad hides the key. Not that I've ever gone looking.